Okay, this is just a really quick video on what accessories you'll need for the new Panasonic GH6. So the camera itself, when you buy it, you can get the body only version, so obviously you're just going to get this part, no lens, and you'll just get a battery, charger. At the time of recording this, there is actually an offer to get that it takes two types of media in the side. So there's a SD card slot and a CF Express Type B card slot. So if you've got any type of sort of DSLR really or mirrorless camera from the last few years, you've probably quite likely got some fairly decent SD cards. The CF Express Type B, if you don't have them at the time of recording it, they're actually giving away a 128 gig card when you buy the camera. But the catch to it is you won't actually have it shipped with the camera. You have to sort of validate your purchase with a receipt, send that off, and then you'll get it in the post a few weeks later. So there's a few sort of limitations to shooting without that. If you just put the SD card in, it's limited to almost the sort of range of the GH5, so you'll only be able to get, I believe it's 4K 60. So the newer shooting modes, 4K 120, 5.7K, unfortunately they will be unavailable if you don't get yourself one of these CF Express cards. Panasonic have said that they're going to add a firmware update that'll actually let you flick in, sort of get a USB cable in on this side, so USB Type C, and get that out to a hard drive. So much like the Blackmagic Cinema cameras do. So you'll just need some kind of mount to mount a small SSD drive, but obviously that's going to give you, a lot of space for the money. So you get, for example, this 128 gig card. This is a pretty budget card. It came in at about, I think it was 120 for 128 pounds. Sorry, UK. So it's about $150 for this card, and it's a fairly budget card. So you're looking at spending a little bit really to get those higher recording modes. Like I say, you will get one of these cards. It's a Lexar card that actually comes with a camera at the moment, but obviously I want to start shooting with it as soon as it came, so I don't want to wait a few weeks to be able to actually start shooting with a camera. It's probably worth having a backup anyway, so it's just something to consider into the cost that you're probably going to want one of these cards initially rather than having to wait a few weeks to actually get it through the post. But like I say, you can just use sort of your regular SD cards. So this is it's a V30 class 10 card. So that's going to get you, basically the GH5 type shooting modes. And the same actually goes for with the batteries. The way they've done it, you get one battery shipped with it, which isn't this one. The one I've got is in the camera, but you'll get the equivalent of the S5 battery, so it's the BLK22 battery. Luckily, because these have been out for quite a long time for the S5, so there's quite a lot of good sort of third-party versions of them around, so all I've done is just reuse some S5 batteries for this unit. So these came in less than £40 for two batteries plus the charging dock, so it's worth having because not only have you got the extra batteries, you've got the ability to charge two at the same time, which you don't with the charger that comes with the camera. So I think they're well worth getting. I've only really just started shooting with this, but at the higher frame rates which I've been shooting, the battery does go down quite a lot, but I've been shooting high frame rates almost all the time, which I rarely would do if I was out filming normally. But coming back and reviewing the footage on the screen and obviously recording those high frame rates does drain the battery. So if you're out and you're looking for a full day of battery performance, you're going to need to get at least one set of these, if not a couple more. I tend to usually have a pouch of, with the GH5 anyway, I've always had a pouch of 4 batteries plus one in the camera, so I take 5 batteries on a shoot, and that does seem excessive, but I've had batteries fail in the past, and I usually have sort of 2 of the official batteries and then a few sort of third parties, but there's nothing to say you couldn't just have a few extra third party batteries, and that should see you through really. These ones have actually been quite reliable. They tend to give you almost the same shooting time as an actual official Panasonic battery. I mean, how long they'll actually last in terms of lifespan is, I'm not sure of that yet, but at the moment they're performing quite well. So they're really probably one of the most affordable and best things you can do to sort of expand the life of the camera a little bit. So that's definitely worth doing. The other thing that's really worth considering on this camera, it's obviously micro four thirds. So they've had to do a little bit of there's a lot of sort of computational stuff they've done within the camera to try and make it work for things like high dynamic range, which it's amazing what they've done, but it does come with some limitations. So they're using something on there called I think it's dynamic range boost. So it's essentially a feature in the software that you switch on, and then it comes at a sort of a little bit of a price where you have to use 2000 ISO. So using that high in ISO when you're actually shooting in, say, daytime, outdoors, especially if it's sunny, you're not going to be able to get the f-stop probably to a shallow depth of field that you're looking for, because quite often people are shooting a shallow depth of field. That's what people like about kind of mirrorless cameras. So if you are looking for that and you're looking to use the dynamic range boost feature, then you'll need to get some ND filters. I mean, this one that I'm using is a fairly cheap, just kind of variable ND. So you can see, when you're turning it, it's sort of letting more light in or less light in. You can buy sets of NDs in different strengths. So you can get sets of usually 4 or 5 different NDs all in one set. I tend to just like one of these just if I'm doing quick shoots, because it's a lot easier just with a variable ND. I can just sort of have that on the lens of the camera, and then it's sort of ready to go when I need it. The one thing about these sort of mirrorless lenses for the especially for MFT, they all come in different thread sizes. So the kit lens, it comes with actually I can't. Let me find out what it is. It's 62, the one that I got it with. So I got the GH5 with the Leica kit lens. So that's the 12 to 60 2.8. And that one came with a 62 mil thread. So that's a fairly big thread, and a lot of the glass I was shooting with before was it had sort of 58 mil thread, that type of thing. So what you can do, rather than having to buy an ND filter for every thread size, you can buy yourself just some actually I haven't got any on the table, but step up and step down rings. So they're basically just a thread without any type of lens on it, and they'll just make it fit onto bigger or smaller lens sizes. So that way you don't have to just keep rebuying them every time you buy a lens. It is a bit fiddly to be unscrewing an ND filter on and off your lenses all the time. It's not ideal if you want to switch lenses quickly. There are systems around that have sort of magnetic snap-on and snap-off filters and things like that. So, but what I tend to do is just buy the biggest filter for your biggest lens thread, and then you can step it down to those other lenses when you need to. And then, like I say, that's definitely worth doing. I mean, this ND filter is I think it was about £30. You can get them anywhere from between about £15 all the way up to a couple of hundred for really expensive ones. So, and I mean sets, and there's all types of different ones you can get. So you don't have to spend too much to do it. But like I say, if you want that creativity of being able to get a sort of shallow depth of field whilst also benefiting from the dynamic range boost, make sure you get yourself a variable ND, because you're not really going to be able to do that without it. The next thing was I was kind of looking at the cage options for the GH6, and there are a couple that have already come out. I mean, I've got this camera just ordered from this was just from Wex, so it's in stock and it's being shipped and it's available now. So the cages, there are a couple available, but they don't have very good lead times on them yet. There's a small rig cage, a sort of cheaper small rig cage, which looks sort of adequate for the camera, but it looks like it kind of blocks quite a lot of this half of the camera, which for me is not really ideal. So they've got another one coming out, or it sort of is out, but it's got a long lead time, called the Black Mamba, and the cage sort of comes out to here. And you'll kind of see on this, the body of this camera is quite chunky compared to the old GH5. So if you try to put it into an old GH5 cage like this one, you can see it just can't even get anywhere close to fitting inside it. It's just, the body is too big. So really the two choices that seem to be out there are the small rig. They've got two options, like I say, and Tilter as well seem to have quite a nice looking cage that's come out. I think I'm probably going to get the small rig Black Mamba, because I've already got handles and everything else I need for it, all the all the accessories. I just need the cage, so I'll probably be looking at just getting that Black Mamba standalone cage and sort of seeing how that performs. And the other thing I suppose really is in terms of the price everyone's kind of putting out there. It's always the body only price, so it's probably unlikely that there are that many people that are coming in without any MFT glass, because this is quite a specific camera, and it does appeal to people that already have Micro Four Thirds glass. But if you are coming into it thinking, okay, 2,000 is like an amazing price, or £2,000 is an amazing price for a camera that does so much, it does a lot for the money for sure, but you do need to consider that is for the body only version. So I think for an extra 200 you can get the lens for it, the kit lens, but that's not the Leica version. It's a fairly standard lens. It's enough to get you started, but it's worth considering spending some extra money after that on lenses that kind of suit you, because the kit lens is just a bit of an all-rounder. It never does a lot of the things that people want, so it's not got a great deal of reach, and it hasn't got that really, really shallow depth of field that a lot of people like. So but this is a good mount system to be buying lenses for, because they are just so affordable. You can buy really great lenses for not that much money. So you can get some of the G series lenses, like the 25mm. I've seen those for under £100, and it's a really nice looking lens, and it's it's good for the money. It's almost the equivalent, I suppose, of the the Canon's old sort of nifty 50. It's a good lens for the price, and there are lots of nice manual lenses you can get like this. This is just a Camlan 50mm, and it's a really good sort of chunky lens. It hasn't got autofocus, but it sort of has a manual aperture, and it's a nice looking lens, and it wasn't that expensive. I think it was 150 when I bought it, and that was brand new. You can get lenses like that now for under £100 on eBay, and obviously you can rent things as well for not too much money. So it's certainly worth looking into. I mean, I suppose there's the argument that this could be sort of coming towards the end of the MFT sort of lifespan, but there are still cameras propping it up, like the Blackmagic 4K. Obviously the GH5 and the GH6 are still kind of standing strong, and Olympus have got new bodies coming out as well. So the price of MFT glass hasn't hit a floor or anything. It's there's still a lot of life left in the MFT lenses, and hopefully there'll be a lot more firmware updates, and potentially even other iterations of these cameras still to come. It's a nice happy medium, I find, of a camera body, because you can get a lot of reach for a pretty small camera. It's not very big at all, really. So there's a lot you can do. The lens that I've got on it, this is my favourite. It's the 35 to 100 2.8, and the reason I like it, if I've got to shoot events or anything like that, it's great because it's a fixed aperture lens, so I can zoom and you know, I'm not having to mess around with settings all the time. I can sort of set it and just kind of go from there, and it works well with the autofocus. And I know people, you know, they don't like Panasonic autofocus, but I found since the firmware updates on the GH5, I found it to be usable in most situations. And if I'm doing something like an interview where it's crucial, usually I just stop the camera to where it needs to be and I'll just run it manually. I don't need autofocus for, you know, an interview like that, because I don't kind of allow people to be walking all over the place. It's just a case of they have to sit, and I'll set it so that they're at, you know, the range of where they can be. So that's not too much of a problem. The last thing to consider, I suppose, is the audio aspect of it, which one of the things, you know, they're really selling is the 4 channels of audio, which is amazing. It's you know, it's really great to have that, but it's not an in-camera feature. It's using the XLR1. So the XLR1 is it's a XLR obviously adapter for the hot shoe of the camera. So it's just a box that goes into the top. It's got 2 XLR inputs. On the side, obviously, you've got your standard mic input there, and using that, you can then have that sort of split 4-channel audio. So that gives you the ability to maybe have a safety track or something along those lines. But it's not a deal breaker to not have it. You know, you can have you can use there are splitters for mic jacks that you can use to do that, but obviously you're doing it in stereo and recording 2 mono tracks essentially. So there's a little bit to be done in the editing process to kind of split it apart. But things like the Rode Wireless Go, they'll do that for you. So, you know, you can plug it in, you can set one mic to be a safety track, and then, you know, you've got one safety, one main track, and then, you know, all you've got to do is split it in the audio and just make sure that you duplicate the track over. Things like Premiere, they'll do that for you. You know, one click is not a big problem. In terms of, you know, if you just want a simple mic setup, something like the Rode Video mic's always a good choice. I've had these since probably the first version they did, actually. And the reason I really like these is because they sound great. They're really, really good microphones. I mean, you know, nothing's going to make my voice sound nice, but for most interview purposes, or just getting good ambient sound out of the camera, I find they're really great. And the best thing I do like about Rode is that they are really, really they really are good with after sales. So, you know, I've had a Rode Video mic that it was less than £100 when I bought it, and they still honoured the guarantee. I think about 6 years into it, and I had a faulty cable on it. They used to be part of the camera, the cables, and the cable had basically just flexed and broken, and they basically just repaired it for me and sent it back, you know, free of charge. So I've always been quite loyal to Rode, because they've just got really great customer service for their mics, and the quality of them is very good as well. So I can't really fault that. And I do have the Wireless Go 2 system, which I do use with the GH5, and obviously I will be using with this now. So yeah, that's a really nice, easy way to sort of extend the camera, and it's not really expensive in the sense of, you know, if you've got a couple of interview jobs, or, you know, something where it's worth using, you know, you can cover it back in terms of that job fairly quickly, because even the Rode Wireless Go 2, that was less than £300. So, you know, things like that tend to pay for themselves quite quickly. And like I say, I've been using some of these Rode mics for years and years and years. You get a lot of life out of audio equipment. So I wouldn't make the mistake of buying cheap audio equipment, because you sort of just end up stuck with it and not using it, and it's just a bit of a waste of space. So if you get yourself something decent to start with, you'll probably have it for years on afterwards and still be getting lots of use out of it. So they're well worth getting. A nice feature of this one actually is it's got a USB-C port on the side. The cable doesn't come with it, but if you buy the USB-C cable for it, you can actually plug it into things like your iPhone or, you know, your tablet, that type of thing. Works for Android as well, and that's great. You know, you can just have you could do separate tracks and things just on a, you know, whatever you've got with your phone, that type of thing. So that's always good to have as well. But yeah, I mean that's really just a roundup of you know, what I kind of feel that you probably be needing, you know, to go with the GH6 on buying it. So hopefully that was helpful. I mean, if you've got any questions, just drop them in the comments, and yeah, I'll try and answer them.